Because the oneness of the Lord is as good as spiritual body. Alright. Okay. What else? What else? We got 2 points so far, right? Oneness of the Lord and in the spiritual world, in spiritual body. What else?
They know the purpose of the creation.
You understand the purpose of creation. Very good. You understand the purpose of creation.
They do not have disunity with the Supreme.
Very good. They don't have disunity with the Supreme. Very nice.
They're also just extensions of that point about bodies that fallible souls have to go through the 6 changes and have to transmigrate, whereas infallible souls don't.
Yep. And these infallible souls are also liberated souls. The consequence of all this. Okay, that's good. So the opposite of this is the fallible. That they are in the contact with the material world, they're trying to enjoy the material world with the 5 senses and the mind. Their bodies are constantly changing, and because of contact with matter, because of identifying with body, they also seem to change. Because the bodies are changing, they think, oh, I'm a young man, I'm an old man, I'm a girl, I'm a boy, I'm beautiful, I'm ugly, I'm rich, I'm poor. They identify with the body. These are some of the characteristics of the fallible class. Okay. And what is the another word for the fallible class? There the Sanskrit word is Kshara, or also called Jivbhuta. Jivbhuta is another word that is used there to indicate the fallible class of living entities. Okay, we'll go to text 17 now. Prasanna Prabhu, read. Prasanna.
उत्तम पुरुषास्तुवन्या परमा आत्मेति उद्धरता योको लोकत्रयनम् अद्वैस्य बिभारते अवश्य ईश्वरा. Besides these two, there is the greatest living personality, the Supreme Soul, the imperishable Lord Himself, who has entered the 3 world and is maintaining them.
Read the purport.
The idea of this verse is very nicely expressed in the Katha Upanishad 2.2.13 and Svetasthvara Upanishad 6.13. It is clearly stated there that above the innumerable living entities, some of whom are conditioned and some of whom are liberated, there is the Supreme Personality, who is Paramatma. The Upanishadic verse runs as follows: Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam. The purport is that amongst all the living entities, both conditioned and liberated, there is one Supreme Living Personality, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who maintains them and gives them all the facility of enjoyment according to different work. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is situated in everyone's heart as Paramatma. A wise man who can understand Him is eligible to attain perfect peace, not others.
Very good. So what's the main point in this verse?
Prabhu, in everyone's heart, Paramatma resides. One who understands Him will eligible to get the perfect peace and attain that.
Very good. Okay. Prasanna Prabhu, any points on that?
It's also said that the Supreme Personality maintains them and gives them all the facilities for enjoying according to the work that they do.
Okay. Sharmukhi?
Just day before yesterday in the Japa group, Charudeshna Mataji sent one reference by Sachinandan Maharaj about how while chanting you should try to connect to the Paramatma in the heart. And so when he took some devotees on a Japa retreat, he took them to the caves in Croatia. You read that, no? In Croatia, he took them it was a very hot day, and as part of the Japa retreat, he took them inside the caves, and it was very cool inside the caves, and no lighting, nothing, and there were all those stalactites, stalagmites, and all those things like that which hang down from the roof, and it was all a very natural atmosphere, and there they were all closing their eyes and chanting, and they were trying to connect to the Paramatma in the heart. And no one was talking, all of them were chanting. And when they came out, they finished that session and they were coming out. Maharaj said that he went to the very forward, he went straight ahead of the cave, ahead of everyone else. And he said, now you can all start talking, that's okay, we finished. But all were trying to relish that peace and bliss which they experienced while connecting to the Paramatma in the heart while chanting. They didn't want to talk, they didn't want to disrupt that blissful nature. Yeah. So that is connecting to the heart. So every time we chant, it will be nice if we can connect to the Paramatma in the heart and ask for guidance. Then we don't have to be scared, oh, in that relationship or in this circumstance, I didn't act properly. So all the time if you are getting direction from Paramatma, you can't go wrong. But then we can't have connection with Paramatma all the time. So we can keep begging for connection to the Lord like that. Thank you.
Any other points on this verse anyone would like to share? Third row. Use the microphone.
Just the verse that Prabhupada quotes in the purport. The Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam. The second part of that is Eko Bahunam Yo Vidadati Kaman, which relates to the second half of the verse, which is that the Lord single-handedly maintains everybody else. So that's what he was quoting in the purport.
Very good, thank you. That's on the Katha Upanishad. And Prabhupada says Shveta Upanishad also says the same thing. Yeah, so this is the explanation of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. They give a complete understanding. Whereas until Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, their understanding was not complete. It was either Dvaita or Advaita or Vishishta Dvaita. They are not completely answering all the questions. Whereas in the Gaudiya Vaishnava follows Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we find a complete explanation of the living entities and relationship with the Lord. The previous verse we read, there are two types of living entities, Kshara and Akshara, fallible and infallible. Now here Krishna is saying, besides these two, there is the greatest living personality, the Supreme Soul. So what is the Sanskrit word used for that in this verse? Yeah, Paramatma, Purusha, Uttama Purusha, Parama Atma. So Parama means supreme and Uttama also means the best. So the supreme and the best, the Supreme Soul and the best and the greatest. And is entered the three worlds and is maintaining them. So how does he enter the three worlds? As Paramatma, correct. So you see the connection, right? How the previous verse is connected to this verse. So the idea is that as Paramatma, he comes and he accompanies every living entity. So that way, he is in the material, not of the material world. So Nand Gokul Prabhu, what is Paramatma's role in the material world? Yeah, that's okay, no problem. So what is the role of Paramatma in the material world? What does he do? Yeah, but we read more last time, right? Accompanies the living entity, yes. Accompanies the living entity, and what is just goes and just sits there, or does he do something? Witness and overseer, he already mentioned, Upadrashta Anumanta. He is witnessing and is permitter and overseer. Upadrashta is overseer, Anumanta permitter. He gives permission, and he accompanies. Then he gives direction to those who turn towards him. Very good. So the direction is given by him. Now, not only that, he also maintains the living entity. That's what is brought out here. That Jitendra Prabhu just mentioned that point. Eko bahunam yo vidhati kaman. Prabhupada only wrote the first line in the purport. He didn't write the next part. Yeah, Prabhu?
This Paramatma is there in everyone's heart. Sometimes we want to take a decision or something. We want something to happen for us or something.
A bit closer.
We want something to happen or we desire something. For instance, I'm attending one speechcraft course now. Impromptu speech. So I just was thinking, that person give me this topic or something like that. So that will be easier for me. Right? So will Paramatma will do that and take and help us to get that? Because he knows what's in our heart and make the other person to respond to it. So Paramatma is common within us. I'm just giving this as
Yeah, no, I can see what you're saying. See, Paramatma is not order supplier. That we have to be clear.
No, that's not order. I mean, not asking.
Yeah, but even
Thinking in the heart.
yeah, but even that I'm saying that our desires he may or may not fulfill because there are a number of factors involved. First factor is, do we deserve it? And I might see the Prime Minister of the country going in the car and I think I wish I could be Prime Minister. Now Paramatma may say, well, that's 6,545 janmas away. If you do that many good karmas, then you will become Prime Minister of Australia. And then overnight there will be coup and somebody else will be appointed Prime Minister. So Paramatma sees desiring is one thing, deserving is another thing. So Paramatma takes that into account. Now for devotees, it is the internal energy of the Lord that does the arrangement. Mahatmanastu mam partha Daivim Prakriti Mashrita. They are under Daivi Prakriti, divine energy, under Radharani's jurisdiction. There Paramatma doesn't interfere. There Radharani makes the internal energy makes the arrangements because that is for the pleasure of the Lord. It's exclusively done for the pleasure of the Lord. Whereas if that situation I am supposed to be asked to speak on a topic I am not comfortable and I don't do so well, maybe that is necessary for me to become a good speaker later. But I don't know. I am looking for convenience and comfort, immediate comforts. So here is mentioned, Paramatma gives all facilities for enjoyment. He gives the facilities. But the problem is that we desire much more than we deserve. And sometimes we desire things that are not suitable for us. That's why Prabhupada used the word order supplier. Because the conditioned soul wants to go and pray to the Lord and ask for something. It is strictly for business. There is no love there. That Krishna is discouraging in the Bhagavad Gita. Earlier in the 3rd chapter we saw that he also discouraged. So here the desire is there that I should get this topic. What for? Just so I don't have to struggle, right? That may not be the best thing for me. Maybe I need to struggle. I remember in my own case when I gave the first talk in engineering college when debate, I was booed out of the stage, humiliated to the max you can imagine. Because I couldn't speak well, the microphone didn't work and they threw stuff at me and first year engineering, ragging, they thrown out. But that was the best experience for me because that is what I needed in order to get over the stage fear and be able to speak in front of any audience. May not speak well, but at least I won't be scared of audience.
Yeah, my question is, you're not thinking of praying. I'm saying
You're desiring.
thinking in the heart itself, because Paramatma.
Paramatma knows. He knows. Yeah. But see, we make a wish, or you desire, or you pray, same thing. They're all different degrees of the same thing. I'm answering question in a slightly different way, simply because the thought is a desire only, and desire is not far from a prayer, from a wish. They're all connected. You see, they're not separate. So the desire is there in the living entity, because it says here he gives all facilities for enjoyment, but within the boundaries of a karma.
Because many times I felt, just we have desire, it's immediately satisfied. So I used to think whether it's a Paramatma connection.
Like that. If the desire is fulfilled straight away, Paramatma is always involved. He has permitted it. Yes, without Paramatma permission, nothing will happen. So definitely Paramatma is involved at every step. No question about it. But the question is now whether he fulfills all our thoughts and desires. That is a different question. So that is one aspect. The other aspect is whatever is sanction of Paramatma only. Unless it comes under Daivim Prakriti Mashrita. Then it's a different category. Because sometimes Krishna makes arrangement. Prabhupada wanted to become rich in his business, do very well, and then go to America and preach. But Krishna didn't want it like that. So now you become poor. Lose all your property, lose all your family, take sannyas, be helpless, and then go. And then he gave back many, 1,000 times, 100 times, million times over what he had not got. So his karma was that he would be a very successful businessman had he continued on that. When his business didn't do well, he went and asked Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He said, my business is not doing very well. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur gave very useful advice for those who want to make money. He gave very good advice. He said, you don't love money enough to be rich. To be successful in business, you have to love money, very passionately in love with money. Then you will become rich. But if you're not that interested, then you're doing a business, then people will cheat you. And you lose money. And that's what happened to Prabhupada. The people took advantage of him. Because he was not too concerned, his mind was somewhere else. So that is Daivim Prakriti Mashrita. Different arrangement. What he thought didn't happen. But then later on he understood why Krishna made that arrangement. Now that depends on the Lord's desire. He is independent. He can choose how he reciprocates the devotee, at what stage. There is no yardstick and saying above 5.5 he'll reciprocate this way. So now there is no linear scale like that. The Lord can reciprocate with any devotee. Otherwise, why would he come to Dhruva Maharaj and Gajendra? They were not pure devotees. Yeah, but his question is, will he only come for a pure devotee? That's his question. But we can't say everyone who offers a lotus flower, Krishna will come to him. Not necessary. So he is ultimately he's independent. But you see, even though Krishna is described as Abhigya Swarat, supremely independent, his independence is lost by the love of his devotees. When devotees love him so much, they are doing loving service, he loses his independence. And that's what Damodar month is all about, is coming up. Damodar Leela is where Krishna loses his independence. Because of love. So Krishna is supreme, we are reading here, supreme, but supreme is conquered by the love of his devotees.
So what I mean to say is, obviously Daivim Prakriti acts for a pure devotee, but in the case of devotees in general, is it Krishna who's directly making the plans, or is it just a case-by-case basis, depending on how Krishna chooses to reciprocate with each individual devotee?
Correct. We can't make a general rule like that. It's hard to tell. That's why we have to ask senior devotees or spiritual masters. Srila Prabhupada's example again comes from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur kept coming to him in a dream and asking him to take sannyas. First he just thought of the dream. But later on circumstances were such that he was forced to do it. Krishna forced him into that situation. Had his business been successful and his family been cooperative, who knows what would be the future of ISKCON. Krishna makes the arrangement. So that faith the devotee should have. Rakshishyate iti vishwasa. What is that song? That is Govinda Dayavanda Irali? Yeah, what does that mean?
Whatever difficulties have to come, let them come. But only one request: may the daya, the mercy of Lord Govinda, always be with me.
That's the devotee's prayer. So you're going through tough times, going through bad health, going through humiliation, going through losses, financial losses, going through legal problems. Say, Krishna, if that's what I have to undergo, I will go. So that last time we discussed, right? Wasn't it? His Holiness Devamrita Swami said, Krishna tests not how you react to situation, but how much you surrender to take shelter to the Lord. Huh? Last time class before that. Can you give us the more accurate version of the quote? But you said that, or no? In the Bhagavatam class we discussed. Yeah, Bhagavatam last I thought it was last week. Yeah, Bhagavatam class we discussed that. So when you are in difficulty, Krishna is saying how much we are taking shelter of the Lord. Okay, so that is what Krishna is looking for. Yeah, Madhuri.
About the Paramatma, because you said the Paramatma is sanctioning the orders which you have the desire. So I'm just confused in one thing. Like, if you have material desires, is still Paramatma sanctioning those material desires depending on your karma and depending how much you deserve. Is that correct? Then, because you're not looking back to Paramatma in that stage, still he is sanctioning. But when you look back to Paramatma, then you don't have the desires, or what is the situation? Then you have the desires to be with Krishna. So that.
So look at the example
there
of
are
Dhruv.
two things. Like,
Yeah, I know. Look at the example of Dhruv Maharaj. What happened in his case? Just apply your question to Dhruv Maharaj's situation. How would you respond? What's your answer? Does it?
Because I know he's suffering because of the disciple, but then Krishna has put into such a situation that he wants to show an example that I can still do the service. And when he turned back to Paramatma helped him even to come out of the crisis. So,
Yeah.
Is that correct?
So that's why if the disciple is not qualified, the Guru takes reaction, but how much reaction he takes is up to the Lord. The Lord makes the arrangement. Because in the case of Vasudeva Datta, he said, I'll take the sins of all the living entities and let me go to hell eternally. But then he said, no, you don't have to go to hell. I'll still live the whole universe. But sometimes the Lord does this to enhance the glory of the devotee.
I remember in one of the Bhagavatam in Mayapur, they had one of the Prabhu had told a story of Narsimha and Prahlad. So when Narsimha killed Hiranyakashipu, and then because he wanted to soothe, he was in the angry mood. So that time when he was soothed with Prahlad, so he just asked, whatever boon you want, you just tell me. So he said, I don't want anything, just I want to stay here for you because I want to liberate every living entity who is there. So he just didn't want to go and get liberated himself, but he wanted to liberate others also.
Correct.
So that.
Correct. That's also there. There are so many factors involved. That's a fact. Sometimes spiritual master has to come back for the disciples. Yeah, that's true. That is also another scenario. But that's not due to Paramatma and karma. That's not due to karma. It's a different calculation altogether. That's why Prabhupada said, don't make me come back as Chintamani, as a prostitute. So because the disciple had fallen down so much, that was the only way to bring him back on track. So that was an unfortunate situation. So that's why the Guru is trying hard to deliver the disciple. He's trying very hard. But we also disciples, we should try our best to follow the rules strictly and make it easy for spiritual master to do that rather than make it hard. And furthermore, if he can take responsibility to help his other disciples who are struggling, help them to come up, that will be even better service. So depending on his capacity one has to, but you have to save yourself first. That's more important. And you only extend help where you can help others. If you're not in a position to help, you shouldn't think, oh, I'm a great devotee, I'll deliver the whole world. That illusion we should not have. Or I am very transcendental, I can deliver anyone. One should not think like that. Even if one has the potency, it has to be, you have to realize it comes from spiritual master. Does that answer your question? Yeah. So these are all, it's very hard to classify, isn't it? Where Paramatma is getting involved, where internal energy is getting involved, and where the spiritual master's own desire is involved.
We are discussing Paramatma since our Bhakti Viksha, but still there are some questions coming up again and again.
Yeah, no, these questions, see, no, yeah, I know, but that's why we can't tell for sure. We are,
Different questions are coming.
yeah, I agree, they come, but the point here I'm trying to make is, it's hard for us to decipher. Krishna says in the 4th chapter that you can't even understand karma and reaction. Okay, to understand karma itself is so difficult. What to speak of understanding all the intricacies of Paramatma and all. And the question is, what is the benefit of knowing anyway? You know? Our main point is how much you surrender to Krishna. That is the main point. How much you surrender to Krishna. That is the main point. Anything that helps us to surrender more, that is very good. That's why for a devotee, he says that a comfortable position is like poison. A comfortable position is like poisonous, because you don't take shelter of the Lord. Whereas our desire is to have a comfortable situation. Everywhere we're looking for comfort. If I sit there, I'll be more comfortable. If I sleep there, I'll be more comfortable. If I eat that, I'll feel more happy. Everywhere we're thinking of our enjoyment. And now we're trying with Krishna consciousness, oh, has it been offered? Little bit Krishna will come. Otherwise back to what I like to do, what I like to do. It's all about me. Even preaching we're doing is, oh, how many followers I'll have, how many people appreciate me. It is so much inbuilt and ingrained in us, we don't see that. That's why the devotee should be more eager to hear than to speak. That is humility. Humility means I want to hear. When we don't have humility, we don't want to hear. Or if we hear, very distracted, we're not listening, our mind is here, there, looking there. Because our humility is not there. So humility comes in so many ways. I can say, Prabhuji, I am very fallen. That may not be humility. Humility means to sit and listen attentively. That is humility. Not to get distracted. And to have real taste for hearing. Not be anxious to always the one to speak, but to allow others to speak and by wanting to take the position of hearing. So these are some of the qualities we need to cultivate. So these qualities will make us more dear to the Lord. Then the Paramatma interacts with us in a different way. Then the interaction becomes very sweet, very intimate, becomes more intimate. Then we get to understand these things more clearly. These questions become more clear. Otherwise, it's very hard to explain like that.
Because in material world, we are, because see, unless until you speak and you show that you are, we are not qualified in the material world.
Because you show that you are presentable and you are the most best person in the world, you won't be able to get anything.
Yeah, that is there you have to do the needful.
That's
There you have to do the needful. Yeah.
cultivated, so we
Yeah.
have to just
Yeah.
reverse it.
In the material world, that is necessary. Yeah, that is necessary. We have to do the needful. What is needed, you have to do. But internally, consciousness is always on Krishna. That's what in the Bhagavad Gita introduction Prabhupada says, right? He quotes Acharyas. Just as a person has a lover, then a lady has a lover, she is always thinking of the lover, but she does her duty very expertly, so no one will think that she has got. So our lover is Krishna. We should not let other people think that we have some other priority. In the office, you are the CEO of the company, everything else depends on you, and you are like taking the full responsibility. You are there to save the company. You may have to do that to make them feel comfortable. In school, you have to show that you are the best student. But in the heart, a devotee knows that that is not up for me. I am doing this to do my role nicely, but actually my heart is with Krishna. It's hard that, isn't it? That's why constant reading association is important. Hearing, attentive chanting, attentive good sadhana helps us in that, no? And we pray also. Our side we have sadhana. You can't depend only on sadhana. Our sadhana is our sincerity, and we pray to the Lord, please guide me. Pray to Guru Maharaj, Prabhupada, please guide me. I need your guidance constantly. It's that dependence on Krishna that makes us strong, not our willpower or our self-esteem or self-confidence and all this blah 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 they teach you in the corporate world. That doesn't work by itself. It's because Krishna is there. So that is the dependence on Paramatma. Right, Tarini? It's kind of a big girl now. Yeah. Okay, one more point in this verse, very important before we finish. How does this verse refute Mayavad philosophy? That's one point we have not covered today. Just go through the purport and tell me. How does this verse refute Mayavad philosophy? Yes, very good. Yes, Janardhan Prabhu. Use the microphone, yeah.
Prabhu, Hare Krishna Prabhu. He says that the difference is that the living entity is either in the conditioned state or in the liberated state cannot surpass in the quantity the inconceivable potencies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which shows that the individual soul can never become the Lord.
Why? Because he cannot maintain everyone.
Yes.
He can't maintain everyone. We can't maintain anyone. We think we're maintaining a family, actually it's not. Krishna is doing it.
Not even maintaining ourselves.
Not even maintain ourselves. Yes. Is there anything else you wanted to say? That was the point? Okay. Go.
Prabhu, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada said that this, but since the Supreme Personality of God, as stated in the Vedanta Sutra, is the source of all incarnations. So, where Mayavadis actually say that as the Brahman is the source of all everything, here it is explained that it is source of all incarnation, and so that's how we can defeat Mayavad philosophy.
Yes, very good. Good point. Yeah. Anything else to defeat Mayavad philosophy?
Is that Brahma is the state of God.
Correct.
Paramatma sits in everybody's heart and also maintains it.
Correct. So Paramatma realization is beyond the Brahman realization. So Mayavadis say that the Brahman realization is the ultimate, but actually there is beyond that is Paramatma and Bhagavan. And that we are eternal, he is eternal, but he maintains all of us, we don't maintain him. And Supreme Lord is fully conscious, because if we are conscious, how can Supreme be unconscious? Supreme Lord has to be conscious. Okay, I'll go to text 18. Was not read. Adhimati, you want to read? Text 18. Use the microphone, huh? They can't hear. You say one line at a time, we'll follow you.
Yasmasharam atitoham
Yasmaswaram atitoham
akshārādapi chotamaha
akshārādapi chotamaha
atosmi loke vede
nirke vedecha
pratitaha purushotamaha
pratita purushotamaha
Because I am transcendental, beyond both the fallible and the infallible, and because I am the greatest, I am celebrated both in the world and in the Vedas as the Supreme Person.
Okay. Shantimati, read the purport. Read the first paragraph of the purport.
No one can surpass the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, neither the conditioned soul nor the liberated soul. He is therefore the greatest of personalities. Now it is clear here that the living entities and the Supreme Personality of Godhead are individuals. The difference is that living entities, either in the conditioned state or in the liberated state, cannot surpass the quantity, the inconceivable potencies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is incorrect to think of the Supreme Lord and the living entities as being on the same level or equal in all respects. There is always the question of superiority and inferiority between their personalities. The word Uttama is very significant. No one can surpass the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Sure.
The word Loke signifies in the Arusha Agama, the Smriti scriptures, as confirmed in the Nirukti dictionary. Lokaya Vedartha Nena, the supreme. The purpose of the Veda is explained by the Smriti scriptures.
Very good. Keep going, yeah.
The Supreme Lord is in his localized aspect of Paramatma is also described in the Vedas themselves. The following verse appears in the Vedas. Chanda Yogya Upanishad 8.12.3 Tavad Esha Samprasodo Smart
You got the toughest paragraph to read.
Chara Samutya Param
Oh.
Chodirupam Pamyata Svane Rupa Pinpyati Sa Uttapurushaha, the super soul coming out of the body entities, enters the impersonal Prabhajyoti. Then in his form he remains in his spiritual identity. That supreme is called Supreme Personality. This means that the Supreme Personality is exhibiting and diffusing his spiritual effulgence, which is the ultimate illumination. That Supreme Personality also has a localized aspect as Paramatma by incarnating himself as the son of Satyavati and Parsara. He explains the Vedic knowledges as Vyasadeva.
Very good, good girl. A tough one. Justice got excited. Our friend is glorified. Yeah, I know. He loves it. Okay, so what are the main points here? Quantity and quality is same, but quantity is different. Huh? Very good. What else? Drop of water and ocean. It's different. This is the understanding of Vedanta. What else? Yeah, the super soul is not required in the spiritual world. No need. Yeah. Correct.
In this verse, Uttama has come 2 times.
Mm.
At the end of each long line, at the end of the first long line, there is Uttamaha, Chottamaha. Yeah, that's it, Purushottama. Talking about the Supreme Person.
Yeah, no one can surpass Supreme Personality of Godhead. So here the comparison between the living entity and the Lord. What is the comparison? Both are individuals, both are conscious, both are spiritual. Yeah, but the Supreme Lord is beyond Akshara and Akshara. He is not affected by Akshara and Akshara. He is beyond all that. And he is described as Uttama. What does Uttama stand for?
Beyond.
Highest, he is the highest, he is the topmost.
Topmost, yes. Topmost.
Tama, so Sandhi Vicheda, Tama.
Tama means? No, darkness. Ut means? Beyond that. So Uttam literally means beyond darkness, beyond ignorance. Here it means that no one can surpass him. There is another word for Krishna, name for Krishna, which means no one can be equal to him or greater than him. Asama Urdhva, very good. Asama Urdhva. No one can, Sama means equal. No one can be equal to him. Asama Urdhva, nor Urdhva, nor can be greater. Asama Urdhva. Yeah. And what is significant of the word Loke? Yeah, the whole creation. So what does Prabhupada say in the purport of Loke? Read that again. Hmm.
Lokyate Vedartho Lena. Purpose of the Veda is explained by Sufi scriptures.
The Smriti scriptures. What is the purpose? Is to explain. The Smritis are there to explain the purpose of the Vedas. The reason Prabhupada writes that is because there is some class of philosophers, they reject Smriti. So here Prabhupada is quoting from Shruti to explain that Smriti is meant to explain the Shruti. The purpose. Very interesting question. The Mahabharata is considered Smriti Shastra, but Bhagavad Gita comes as part of that. So Shankaracharya he named the Bhagavad Gita as Gita Upanishad. Upanishad comes under Shruti. So he pulled the Bhagavad Gita out of Mahabharata and put it in Shruti department. Shankaracharya did the work for us already. He proved by his knowledge of Shastra that actually Bhagavad Gita is Shruti, it's not Smriti, because it's coming directly from the Lord. So even it may be written under Smriti department, but it still is Shruti because it's coming directly from the Lord.
So the bigger scenario is part of the Mahabharata.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's the conflict. That's why Shankaracharya had to deal with that. He's already dealt with us. For us, it says we don't care so much. Big deal. Bhagavad Gita is Bhagavad Gita. That's it. Whether put Shruti or Smriti is your problem. But because scholars in those days were so particular, and they would not read the Gita thinking the Smriti is not for us. We only follow the 4 Vedas and Upanishads. For them, he said, no, Bhagavad Gita is Gita Upanishad. You should read this. That's why he writes the whole Gita Mahatmya at the beginning of importance of Bhagavad Gita. So as devotees, we should not also feel that Bhagavad Gita is inferior to Srimad Bhagavatam and inferior to other things. That's not the idea. The idea is for studying, Prabhupada gives a certain study plan. And doesn't mean Bhagavad Gita becomes inferior. How can it be inferior? The Lord has spoken Bhagavad Gita. So if I think that if I'm studying Bhagavatam, I'm doing more advanced study, yeah, that may be the case in some case. But Bhagavad Gita is our basic. And no one can say, I understood Bhagavad Gita already. So if someone says that means you got a serious problem, they're not reading Gita at all. I can tell straight away. And someone says, Gita I finished, now I'm doing Bhagavad. Bhagavad I finished, now I'm doing Chaitanya Charitamrita. Do you have any other books? What do you mean? Do you have any other books? That means it's understood nothing. Yeah, that's right. That's definitely true. And yeah, very true. And our own understanding is better. See, every time I throw a question, most time, sometimes you get answer, but sometimes you get only silence. So that means we haven't been reading. So please make it a point. One way I found very useful to read is you pretend that you are giving the class. That is, our mind is so conditioned to class giving mode. We want to only give class. So you pretend you are the one doing the class and prepare and come. That will be really nice. That way you are, I try doing that with the temple Bhagavatam also. I don't give class often. Very rarely give class. Once or twice a year maybe. Or maybe 3. So I try to prepare the previous day the verse for next day. So that you have the points in your mind. When the speaker is speaking, you can connect straight away to that. That was the secret of my first rank in school. I used to read the chapter before the teacher taught. That's all. I was not intelligent. I'm not intelligent. My father taught me only one tip. He said, read the lesson before the teacher teaches. That's it. When the teacher says everything, it's all clear. You already read it before, so you already know the chapter. Any question? No problem. So here also for Krishna we should do it all the more. Pretend that you are the one doing the presentation and you got to get it right. Because if you don't read, if you neglect reading properly, and then we get the feeling, oh, I'm reading only Gita for so many years, when will I start Bhagavatam? All kinds of doubts come in the mind. I mean, Bhagavatam is there. I counted, there are more than 300 references to Bhagavatam in the Gita only. Why would you say Bhagavatam is not there? It's full of Bhagavatam. But the problem is if you don't read any of them, then you end up reading nothing. That's why assignments are there, exams are there. So if you can please make it a point to read 3-4 verses every week, we'll try to cover. Even if you're going slow, there are so many discussions are there. That's important. It's not sake of finishing. Finishing is a mode of passion. You just want to finish. Nothing is going to finish. You're going to start again. And that's why this Bhagavad Gita gives that Shruti. That's why Bhagavad Gita is considered Shruti. Because it's accepted by all classes of philosophers. The Shruti followers also accept and Shruti followers also accept. Because it's spoken by Krishna. Yeah, Prabhu.
What did you mean when you said that Prabhupada used Shruti to confirm that Smriti, Bhagavad Gita, is also authorized? Where did he quote the Shruti?
He quotes that from Nirukti dictionary, right?
Oh, that's counted as Shruti.
Some people do, because the Nirukti dictionary is based on the words used in the various Shrutis and Smritis. Yeah, it is beyond. What should I say? That is considered like that's accepted by everyone. The dictionary is across all schools of thought. So in that sense,
Vedanta Sutra also becomes class Shruti.
no, Vedanta Sutra is Shruti. Yeah, Vedanta Sutra is Shruti. The 18 Puranas are considered Smriti. Ramayana, Mahabharata is considered Smriti. Everything else is Shruti. So 4 Vedas, 108 Upanishads, and the Vedanta Sutra, they are all Shruti. Shruti means that which is heard by chanting of the Lord directly. Sananda Shesh is chanting constantly.
So when you said that Shankaracharya classified the Gita as the Gita Upanishad, did he simply reclassify it, or is the Bhagavad Gita actually found in one of the Upanishads?
I don't know. He classified it as Gita. He called it as Gita Upanishad. If you read the Mahatmya, in the introduction, Prabhupada gives the Mahatmya. There's Sarva Upanishad, Gita Upanishad. It's there in the introduction. That is mentioned. That fact is mentioned there.
The reason I asked that is because if he simply reclassified it, then if I was one of those scholars back in those days, I probably wouldn't accept that as an...
Well, how he established it, I don't know what logic he used to explain that, but at that time he convinced everyone. When he was the supreme scholar of his time, he established Gita as a Shruti, not as Smriti.
Because if it was just based on that, you could say that about anything. Like you can count that as some Upanishad, therefore it's...
But there has to be some reference in some other scripture. No, that is the thing. You can't arbitrarily do that. Just because I say so, it's not like that. There is a basis to it. No? So the basis he has quoted from other scriptures, establishing that. That's why you see Mahabharata in the Bhagavatam says, Pancham Veda Uchyate. Now Vyasdeva, the author, he is saying that Mahabharata is the fifth Veda. Therefore it is Shruti. Therefore Bhagavad Gita also becomes Shruti. Now that's the strength of Bhagavad. But then people who don't accept Shruti at all, they will not accept that statement. So that is in the Bhagavatam, we don't accept that. We want only from the Vedas and Upanishads. Correct. Exactly. That is the point where Shankar and others, they scored a victory on that point. He said you can't take author's one chapter and say other chapter I don't accept. If you write a book with 10 chapters, we'd accept if we accept you, then we accept all the 10 chapters. Nor we take half and leave half. So these are some of the hair-splitting logic can use to win arguments and debates. But yeah, that's anyway, for us the Lord has spoken. That's Sri Bhagavan Vacha. That's important for us. Regardless of who classifies how. And Bhagavad Gita gives us the basis for our Prabhupada wanted ISKCON Hare Krishna movement is said is based on the Bhagavad Gita. So it's based on Bhagavad Gita. What was described in Gita, we're trying to follow that. That's the ideal. Okay? Yes, Padre?
Here Krishna says, because I am the greatest. And we understand that he is the greatest, and we are in the process of surrendering to him.
Yes.
And as you said, Asamurdva. But how do we explain it to the non-devotees? Like, like even in India, if you say like they accept Krishna as one of the God, but not the supreme.
Yeah.
And how do we explain them? He is the all famous, all wealthier, and he is the greatest. Though he has mentioned in many verses here, still it's very hard to explain it to them, and for them to accept is very hard.
Yeah. So that depends on three factors. There are three factors involved in this. All three have to come in play. The first factor, Prabhupada explains that we ourselves should be convinced. I may know theoretically, but how convinced I am is another question. So that is the first factor involved, that I should be convinced. And second is, I should know which shloka actually I should quote for this purpose. And thirdly, that person should be receptive enough to hear from you. You may say so many things, but if the person doesn't accept, what's the use? So all three conditions have to be there. And above all, if you want to add, you can say the Lord's willingness has to be there. But Chaitanya Charitamrita clearly says, Krishna Shakti Vina Nahi Tara Pravartana. Without being empowered by Krishna, one cannot convey this message. One time devotees had gone, they were new devotees, they had gone for a lecture by somebody. Who it was? Some other organized, some outside ISKCON, they went to hear a lecture. And then they were all new devotees, so then they came and Prabhupada asked, what happened? Oh, we went to the lecture. Then Prabhupada, after some time, he said, what did Swamiji explain? He is explaining that we should all, human life is meant to get liberation from birth and death, and we should all go to Brahma Jyoti and spiritual world. Then the devotee said, but we were not convinced about him. We were not convinced by what he is saying. We didn't feel convinced. And Prabhupada looked and said, that's because he is not convinced. So he is not able to convince you. So, how much we may say Krishna is Bhagavan, Krishna is Supreme, how much we are convinced about it. I'm not saying you are not, but I'm saying to what extent. To that extent we can communicate that. You see, when Prabhupada said Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead, no one argued with him. Because he was only convinced. Prabhupada said, I'm not the body. He is fully convinced. I am saying I am not the body, but I am acting like I am the body. Then what does it suggest? Who I am going to convince? I am not convinced myself for a start. Why the question of convincing others? I am giving general guidelines. I am not talking about you. I am saying general guidelines. So we got to see in how much we are convinced. To that extent we can convince the other person.
In that perspective, when we talk to people, some are accepting it straight away,
yes,
and then some are not accepting.
Very true. That's why the second point I mentioned, right? There is the third point rather. Their receptivity is also a factor in. I'm already here. A bit late, madam. I'm sorry. She's telling me to come on. Maybe it's time to leave Dumpy Street. Turn left and go. Must be close to 1 o'clock. Currently 1 o'clock she told me. Sorry, let me finish it there. Huh? Then, yes, Mataji. So, yeah. So, sorry for the interruption. Better not to keep mobile phones near you, otherwise we are tempting to check one message and just check something, Let's try to put that away. It's very distracting. Yeah, no. And that's something that you're using for the textbook. I don't mean you, just saying. Distraction. Sorry. I get easily distracted. Yeah, Mati. So, their receptivity is important. That's a Bhagavatam gives example, beautiful example. I don't know if you know the Sanskrit, but I can tell the translation. That for a plant to grow, we need 3 conditions, right? The soil, the seed, and the environment, water, air, all those things, sunlight, everything. So compare that to compare that analogy to explain it to your situation that you're describing. If the ground is hard, not fertile, even if the seed is potent, it will not work. So the person giving the message is a seed, giving the seed. The one receiving the message is the ground or the soil. If they are hard and they have the right environment is not right, they will not take the message. That's why in the last chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, should only preach to those who are, should not give the message to those who are not austere, but you should give the message to those who are faithful. The purport he adds, how a devotees will still take a risk and go and do it, because they don't want to give up. That way you see whole world is faithless. What could you do? Prabhupada came to Boston 1965. He saw this is so difficult. How can I convey this message to them? The highest is trying to give to the lowest of mankind, Naradhama. But he didn't complain that Naradhama. Rather he said, I am not qualified. I mean, useless beggar, insignificant beggar. He felt unqualified to convey the message. So that mood is very important. Ghanshyam was telling me sometimes on books, he goes out on books, gets many realizations. He was telling me once that when he tries to get the quota for the day, he doesn't succeed. He's just trying to push the book somehow, and people send it and they push back. They don't take from you. But I was saying, let Paramatma act through me, and if he is the right person, he'll take the book. Then immediately books start going. So it makes a big difference. So when you engage in devotion service, practical devotion service in any form, whether it is in the kitchen department or DT department or book department or fundraising or preaching, any activity, the dependence on the Lord is the key thing. How much we are connected to the Lord, not how much techniques we have. Our techniques are not going to help us. Even the studying of the Gita, sometimes people say, oh, here people are studying, it's not very structured, and people have all these kind of complaints. Yeah, structure is good, but structure is not going to take us back to Godhead. It is how much we are learning to depend on Krishna, to surrender Krishna more. That is what we want to get from this verse. If you can get that, then the purport is clear. We know all the different aspects of the sloka and every meaning of the word. 10 meanings of the word Uttam I can give. What's the use of that? If it doesn't make me surrender, make me more proud of the 10 meanings I know, then defeat the whole purpose, isn't it? So that's why it's very easy to miss the point and get sidetracked into techniques which look good on paper, but they are not the essence. If one is surrendered and has good technique, that is nice. That's not a bad, that's always welcome. But to going for technique and forgetting the surrender, miss the point again. So easy to miss the point. So easy. So easy. But we see our main problem is fear of rejection. That's why we don't try. Now see, we are trying to start next Schofield Hall program. Next Saturday starting. We are requesting all devotees, go out and try to bring 1 or 2 people. Take flyers and give out. Now Damodar program is starting, 28th. We can do Damodar programs. Srivastava just called me while I was getting into your place. He called me on the phone and said, oh, please announce Damodar program starting on 28th. We need lots of volunteers. Spare half an hour, 1 hour during the day. And I thought in the evening on weekdays and weekends. Just attend your more basic program, do your chanting, attend your class, then whole day go out and preach. Saturday, Sunday, that's it. Now, whatever cleaning of the house, do it this weekend. Next 4 weeks, no. Basic maintenance mode. That's Damodar month. We need lots of devotees. So we need everyone's help to promote the Damodar program, and as well as Damodar is a good entry point. The NT we started with Damodar program. That is the main source of making so many devotees. I think many of us came through Damodar program. So that is a very powerful month and powerful program. So we need help from everyone. So please, there's a website has got this one. What do you call the link, right? It's on the front page. I haven't been for a few days. It's on the front page. It's on the front page. So anyone wants to, please ask them to register. That's important that everyone should register. So please spread the message in your Bhakti Vrikshas and everywhere. You're doing Bhakti Vrikshas, Bhakti Shastri, anywhere you're going. Very good. Very nicely done. So it's very useful. Any help, Shiv Krishna Prabhu is there, help desk. Any problems? I don't think there should be any issues. It seems to work alright. It's been tested, so it's working. It's already been tested. So, but if you need any help, technical assistance. Okay. Sorry, I did a little announcement on the side. Just used your point. Manibhush Mataji had a question, comment.
So, depending on the level of people's receptiveness, what shloka should we quote in order for them to understand the Krishna? So, is there any particular order that we should be using that?
No, there is no such order. We see what Prabhupada did. It's the example of Prabhupada. It's examples of other devotees who are preaching very nicely. Just learn from them. And ultimately to pray to Krishna. You may know 100 shlokas, but which one to quote at this point that is understandable to that person is a different thing. Same question may be Prabhupada answered in different ways according to the audience. So we can't predict all that. And what is going to touch the heart, we don't know. I am really surprised what actually touches the heart of devotees, because we think that I am the one doing it. No, it's not. It's purely Krishna's mercy. And after the class, sometimes people come and tell me, "Oh, I like that sentence very much," and I didn't pay much attention to it. But that was really the thing that got me. What do you think? Oh, really? That wasn't the main point, but for that devotee, that was very important. This is very. I can relate to that. Yeah, that's right. So somehow it clicks, and that has happened with Paramatma's arrangement, not by our thing. So we read Prabhupada's books. We listen to Prabhupada's conversations, how he's answered interviews, how he's answered questions. Science Self-Relation is a very good book for that. Interviews, he answered questions, how he answered, what circumstances. Good to have this. And then pray to the Lord, please give me remembrance at the right time to say the right thing. Yeah, that's the main thing.
Prabhupada was so straightforward, and only Prabhupada could do it.
That is another point, very good point. Yes, we can't imitate Prabhupada either at the same time. No, you can't do the same thing, but you can get an idea that what he's doing, what words you can quote, and at least give some authenticity to our presentation. And Nandagopal has got a lot of experience. He constantly debates with people, so take his help. Definitely, where is the first thing? That's what Bhakti-Rasa Maharaj says. He quotes from the Bible, I think, is it? You must always preach, but speak when necessary. That is a very good example of that. Yeah, that's true. That's even more important. Our behavior is very important. Mataji will come to you in a minute. Related to the last question, so because related to the last topic, I'm taking those. I'll come to you in a minute. You certainly going to say something?
All the shlokas that in the contents of the Gita summarized, second chapter, second verse, in that Sri Bhagavanu Vacha, for there Prabhupada has given so many quotes to show that Krishna is Bhagavan. And in the purport of 1.1.1, the very first shloka of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam also, that also there. And Brahma Samhita, there are so many shlokas. Every shloka shows that Krishna is Govindam Adipurusham. Yeah. And I was thinking of one more point. We can tell them, see, if Ganesha is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then he would have told the Bhagavad Gita. Why Krishna told and not Ganesh? Why didn't Subramanya say? Like that, why didn't Mother Saraswati speak the Bhagavad Gita? Krishna spoke, so he is Bhagavan. So that way also, we can use all these arguments. And apart from that, if they like to go to pilgrimage places, then we can ask them which is your most favorite one. If they say Tirupati, that is the Lord. Lord is Krishna there. He is Vishnu Murti, he is Vishnu Tattva, not any of the demigods. So I was thinking of those lines also. And all major states in India have got prominent temple is Krishna temple only. Dwarka, Srinathji, and Guruvayurappan is Krishna only. Udupi, all those places, Tirupati. No? If Enatena Prakarena, in all these ways we can try to convince. And finally, like, huh? Huh?
People go to Jyotirlingas more. They are sure.
I don't know.
In that case, if we tell them,
Yeah.
Shiva is a devotee of Krishna, so then they really get, they get offended.
Correct. The receptivity, like if the hard ground is hard, then we can only do so much.
Yes, Mati. So sorry, I've been putting her on hold for a long time. Because they're all related to the same topic, so I thought,
Yeah,
okay.
same topic only.
You also talking
Yeah,
same? Okay.
Mataji said because what happens, like I have big experience with my parents. They're following different Bhagavad Gita, but when I used to read that Bhagavad Gita, I don't want to offend them, but I couldn't understand anything. But when I read Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, because the translation is very, very different than what they don't have actually the translation, but the meaning of the same shloka in different Bhagavad Gita is something different than there's some difference, because here Prabhupada always says Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but there's no as such mention that specifically, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They are pointing towards like Karma Kanda and all those things, which already he has explained. But here Srila Prabhupada keeps a center, like Krishna as a center everywhere, even if it's Karma Yoga or Jnana Yoga, everywhere he keeps. So there's a lot of difference in different Bhagavad Gita. So when we are quoting and translating, we have to be specific that is the Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita. You have to read, because unless until we don't read that, they won't be able to understand who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Yeah. Unless they read the as it is message in Parampara, then only it has effect. That's true. Very good point. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So the more we are convinced about that, the more we are able to communicate that. And see, the real thing is, ultimately, it has changed people's lives, right? That they can't dispute. Where has that Bhagavad Gita done that? Forget all arguments, slokas, forget all that. Which Bhagavad Gita has changed people's lives? On a massive scale. I mean, 10 years. In 10 years, Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita made so many devotees. In 10 years, all over the world. That's inconceivable. Other religions, they take thousands of years to spread. Even then, their understanding is so limited. So it is not religion, it's beyond, this is spirituality, this is love for Krishna. And Krishna gives the knowledge. So this is a experiential knowledge, the experience. Rajavidya Rajaguhyam Pavitamidottamam Pratyakshavagamam. Pratyaksha, this is Pratyaksha. It's a direct experience. So this knowledge you cannot learn, this knowledge is given to you. This understanding is given to you. Yeah, in the form of mercy, correct. Because if they not get the mercy, you will not understand it. So devotees have to pray to the Lord to give mercy to those people, including us of course, so they can understand this and imbibe this. So that is our prayer. So these prayers are pure prayers. They are not materially motivated for any material gain. You are trying to help somebody, you are praying for that person. Today one father came to the temple. He said, my daughter has left home and gone after 18. She's gone off with a boyfriend. I don't know what to do. She's becoming a Christian, a Muslim or something. He was crying so much. But then the same person I know, we had invited him to come to the temple many times. He wouldn't come. He was making fun of us. He was ridiculing us. What is all this? Young people should be enjoying life. We don't wish that to happen, but in one sense it's good that he's now realized it. Now he wants our help to get her back, which is such a hard task to do. When they were young, that time they didn't listen to us. So it makes for the young parents now that should be a good lesson. Just be in this environment. At the most they'll join the brahmacharya ashram, there's nothing bad in there, right? That's all right. That's the worst thing that can happen. Join the Brahmacharya ashram, not becoming a doctor or something. So, not worst, that's probably the best, but we may, because of lack of faith, we think that's the worst. That's right. But if we let them go outside, oh my God, there's no limit to what they can fall down to, right? I don't want to think about it. So that's why to keep them in this environment. But we can't keep them in this environment if we ourselves don't like to be in this environment. We ourselves should be comfortable. And if you're not comfortable, we should give some time, because you got jaundice. We don't like this association so much. We feel something else is better. Everything economically also Krishna will take care. We don't have to, sometimes people say, you have to socialize, otherwise my business will not go. Business will grow much better if you socialize devotees. No need to go and touch the feet of non-devotees to get some business. That will come. So whatever be our objective, whether it's business or job or profession, and I felt sorry for him because he's going through a tough time. He's lost his job also now to add to all that. So it's hard. I'm not saying, oh, you didn't come, therefore get lost. I didn't say that to him, obviously not. We want to help the person. But a lesson for us, right? With younger families, younger kids. Be careful. Once they cross 14, 15, the sweet darling that you had may not be so sweet. If you not train them properly, they may rebel very bitterly and they don't want to talk. And that girl, she's stopped completely. Phone disconnected, email disconnected, Facebook disconnected. They can't get to her. Very tough situation. Yes, bro. Yeah, that's right.
We are trying to give him the solution,
Yeah.
but he is not.
No, he's not
accept the
solution. He's asking for other solutions, material solutions. But I'm saying, you take shelter of the Lord. There's not much you can do in this situation. When someone crosses 18, they have rights. And ulta they can go and say there is a home. At home there is always abuse, domestic violence or emotional abuse is there. They're forcing me to study and all that, pressurizing me to study. Parents are not. Then they can get into big trouble then. Especially for a girl, she can do so much trouble for the parents. So antagonizing them is not going to help. Rather, keep a low profile and pray to the Lord and try to somehow reach out. So eventually things will work out. It's not the end of the world. But the first, when it happens, naturally it's a shock.
Many things like when you go to the temple and people who are attached to the temple, they have like a hotline to the God. So you approach them, you tell them, and then a problem gets solved. They are looking for a silver bullet.
Correct, exactly. You are right, absolutely correct. They want a quick fix, so they can forget about Krishna again and continue. That's demigod life. Demigods, when the trouble comes, Sahasra, Sirisha, Purusha, as soon as the demons go, then where is enjoyment? Where is Varuni? Where is the dancing team? Call Menaka, call Brahma, come on, dance. Let's have a party. So,
Family was there in doctors. They started coming to Bhakti Riksha because both husbands went short of jobs and they were in very terrible condition. So they started coming to Riksha. They used to come before time and they used to spend a lot of time. The moment they got the job, they forgot. These parents, they don't pick up my call.
yeah. That is the thankless task of a preacher, right?
Yeah.
Preacher's task is thankless.
They spend so much time sending them in a job.
Yeah.
They got a job, they just managed.
Anyway.
Yeah, I was not helping them looking at because they are in this situation,
Yeah.
so that they become very good member of Bhakti Riksha. That was not my motive.
They clearly had a business proposition.
I think I remember.
Pray for them.
You said GFC is good because you get more visitors at a time.
That's the business for us. Yeah, that's true. All right, we're gone over time. Oh. We'll do it next time. I'll do justice to it. Okay, that'll be good. Yeah, we should do justice to that. Next week we'll do 19, 20 and finish this chapter finally. The chapter done. So, yeah, 15, we can do that time. So, announcements wise, please, again, Srivas Nitya Prabhu requested all of you, please spread the word.